Welcome to Forever Exile, the Path of Exile podcast. I'm Justin, a.k.a. Tags.
I'm Tyler, Wrecker of Days. This is going to be great.
Yeah, this is episode 108. This is the first full week of Scourge, which is fantastic. I have to give a preface to this. I am doing this relatively blind. Like, literally, I had an eye appointment today, did not realize they were going to put in drops. Can't see shit. I am like 3 inches from my phone. That's the only way I can see some of our notes. Thankfully, my brain functions perfectly. So we'll still be able to talk, but God, I hate this. I hate not being able to see things.
Yeah.
I talked to my doctor. I'm going to go get like the surgery done.
But you probably drove home anyway, right?
Yeah, driving's fine because it's like I can see stuff fine in the distance, like large stuff. I just can't focus. So like when it's the writing or whatever on the screen, I can't actually focus on the words. I can see it, but not well enough to know like, oh yes, this is exactly what that word is. No, I didn't have a choice but to drive. Okay. Plus I'm fine.
Okay.
Cars are big. All right. You can see them just fine.
Sure, buddy.
I will say driving is actually
I had
totally
eye
fine.
drops. I didn't mean to run those people
Oh, no.
over.
If I got pulled over, I wouldn't necessarily be able to see. Like I was paying for my appointment and I was laughing to her. I'm like, you could have put whatever number you wanted in here. I don't even know what the amount is because I'm trying so hard to focus on the ATM thing. Anyway, episode 108, Forever Exiled. Big shout out to some new patrons this week, Vers and Jamie. Thank you both for joining. A couple of their resubs as well. You guys are all awesome. Thank you for joining. If you're curious what our Patreon is, it gets you access to After Dark, which is our podcast after the podcast, where we talk about more stuff and things. Typically not blind, but more Path of Exile, life, lawns, all that good stuff. Thank you guys. All of our patrons. You're awesome.
Agreed. Very awesome. So you know how I'm like always like checking out to see if there's like any GGG anniversaries or anything like that kicking around. And I'm always big on making sure the congrats goes out ahead, not behind of the day.
Sometimes too far ahead, but yes.
No, never too far ahead, you prick. But anyway, I have an apology to you, Justin. I forgot to wish you happy birthday on the podcast before your birthday because I was because it would have been last episode, but it was the league launch episode and I was so excited to get into it. We just skipped past all that stuff. And so anyway, Justin, happy belated birthday.
There's nothing better than having a birthday as the same day as one of your kids because then my birthday doesn't mean anything. And I prefer it that way. I know some people are like big birthday people for themselves. I am not. I don't want a birthday thing. So my second oldest has the same birthday as me, so we got to celebrate him this week and do some fun stuff. I will say, I think people think I drink way more than I drink because I got like way too much booze as gifts. Like way too much. Did I show you the picture of the Wayne Gretzky whiskey?
No.
Yeah, and you can use it to make. They sell it in kits to make whiskey sours and old fashions and stuff.
Nice.
Yeah, so we're doing that next time you guys come over.
Can't wait.
But yeah, it was. How was your week?
You tell me yours. I got a story.
For Ryan, I'm going to say my own week this time, so that you're not.
Yeah, our friends appreciated the paraphrasing I did of your.
I try to keep it simple for you. That's why. Okay. But no, my week was. It was a good week. It was busy, but we had birthdays. We had actually we have a lot of birthdays in October in my family, so there were actually quite a few this week. And we did some stuff. My son's got a Fortnite online birthday because of COVID. You got to like switch things up. So
sure,
we are delivering pizzas, popcorn, chips, and stuff to each of his friends' homes tonight.
Oh, cool
idea! And then they're all going to play Fortnite online, like chatting over their mics, whatever. So we take them their stuff so that they can still stay at home and not come and infest my house. And then they all play online. So. Yeah, my week was good though. I had a great week. How about you?
I had the 2 worst days ever the last 2 days. They were horrible. I think I was actually going to tell you yesterday when we were playing Age of Empires, but then we just got so excited about Age of Empires, I didn't even get into it.
Oh yeah, we played Age of Empires.
Yeah, it was awesome. And so I got a lot of medical stuff going on, right? Like got concussion stuff, neck issues, just like shoulders, thumbs, knees, back. Like it's it's there. And when you have a problem with one thing, everything else gets worse, right? So my doctor has got a big, nice, thick file for me, and every now and then it's good to do your checkups and blood work and all that kind of stuff. So I give him a call. Now it's busy, of course, right? Now that appointments are getting back in, doctors are all backed up. So I make my appointment with Life Labs to get some blood work done, and it's 2 weeks later, right? And so
Your appointment is
my
2 weeks?
appointment, just
Oh, yeah,
because
okay.
Life Labs, they're so backed up, right, to get my blood work done. So it's 2 weeks later, and unfortunately my appointment with my doctor, my phone appointment's the very next day. So there's not going to be enough time for Life Labs to get my blood work to him on time. So I'm doing my best to call my doctor and reschedule. For 2 weeks straight, I have either a busy tone or I get put on hold for 20 minutes. It was almost like the secretary was on strike. It was just crazy. So anyway, I can't get through. I can't reschedule my appointment with my doctor. I get to Life Labs 2 weeks later. Now, on this day, because of all my medical stuff, I have to be very careful with my sugar intake and my diet. That's kind of like the best fight I have, managing my sugar levels or my energy levels to fight my concussion symptoms.
Right.
I'm fasting that day because of the blood work I have. Fine, no problem. Fasting's not abnormal, but it's something that really screws up my day-to-day life. You know what I mean? So like I have to plan for that just with how my health is. I have to
What was it,
plan.
like a 12-hour fast or
Yep.
24?
Yeah,
or what?
10 hours,
12
but
hours?
still I have to plan
Okay.
for that the day before and the
Sure.
day after based on the consequences of how my body reacts to that. And I get to Life Labs. There's no information there, no requisitions, no nothing. So I wait for 2 weeks for my appointment. I fast. At the day that I get there, nothing. There was a miscommunication in the software and no requisitions got sent. And because my doctor's phone system's been so screwy, I find out after, I couldn't even get a hold of him then at that moment to refax or email me so I could email Life Labs. So it was like a wasted 2 weeks of everything. So I was frustrated, like nobody. I want to get my stuff done. And then yesterday, totally different, but it's just the next day. So this is just one day after another. So I'm already pissy, right? I'm dropping my kids off at school the next day and I'm still in a bad mood from my wasted day the day before. And I'm all grumpy and stomping and I'm probably not a fun dad at all. And then I go and so this next day, my kids are starting a brand new job. I mean, they're 6 and 8. So they're starting the newspaper route for our neighborhood.
Into the mines.
That's right. We shall go through the mines. And so we're starting a newspaper route. They're super excited about it. But we had a heavy rainfall warning for yesterday. It was brutal. And so we start the newspaper route right after school. We don't go play at the playground. And it's raining and we're looking, but everything's getting extra wet. We haven't done it before, so we're going slower, learning how things work. So we don't really know how to keep everything perfectly dry. We bought a nice new newspaper cart and all that kind of stuff. We're walking around. About 45 minutes in, we all realize at the same time that our rain jackets are all old enough that they're no longer waterproof. And everything's like just getting soaked. And it was like the most miserable time in the world. So we had a wonderful 2 days as a family. And anyway, we're all quitting at the same time. Yep, we're just done. But no, it was good. It was a couple of rough days, but I went to 2 movies. I don't think I've been to 2 movies in like
I know, it's
4
so
years.
weird that you went to theater movies.
Right,
Like,
but I'm
what?
a huge Bond fan. They're so dumb, but I absolutely love them and I actually really like the Daniel Craig ones. But I went to go see Bond and I'm a big fan of Dune and they just ended up coming out around the same time. So saw that and had a date night
What'd you
with my
think of 'em?
wife, went to the keg. I thought they were awesome movies. I absolutely loved both of them. I won't talk about them or spoil them, but I thought they were great. And then, yeah, so anyway, it's been like a long, trekky week. And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm glad I planned for Halloween 2 weeks early because these last few days of like garbage, all of a sudden it's Halloween. Like the kids, dressing up for Halloween today at school and all that kind of stuff. And then we're going to my mom's place. My mom and sister are putting on a scavenger hunt for them so we don't have to go knock on strangers' doors mid-COVID, and which is super awesome. So anyway, thank goodness I planned ahead for absolutely no reason because it worked out. What are you doing for Halloween?
We've got some friends coming over with their kids tomorrow to do like a before Halloween thing.
Cool.
Kids have their costumes on. They wore them today. It sucks for my daughter. She's because I got to pick her up today to also go for an eye appointment. So she gets the first half of the day.
The one in school or
at school.
The younger one?
Yeah, but I'm taking both my daughters.
Okay.
But yeah, so I got to take the one out of school. The other one, thankfully, my oldest is home to keep her quiet because the daycare is closed today. So, but yeah, they're wearing their outfits and
nice.
We'll just hang out. I don't think we'll do the trick or treating thing. I doubt. I honestly don't know. That's not my area. I'm not sure. I don't know. I will go along with whatever I'm told, but
yeah,
I don't know what exactly is happening. I just know we have some friends coming over tomorrow evening to do like a Halloween thing with their kids. So
Your eyesight's genetic, right? Like it's just you were born with bad eyes, or were you
like
punched
grade
in the
2.
face?
Grade
Yeah,
2 is
okay.
when they started to go. Yeah.
Okay.
Why?
Well, no, because my dad, he had glasses his whole life, but he had fantastic vision. He was just bullied and picked on with snowballs and stuff, and an ice got in his eye. So I was just asking. So your kids, did they get your eyes or they get Christina's eyes?
No, they got mine. I think. Well, so my two boys both wear glasses. My girls actually have really good eyesight right now. We'll see what happens with them. But both my girls want to wear glasses,
Of
like
course
weirdos.
they do, right? The two that have it don't want it.
Yeah. But for anyone who wears glasses, if you know like levels, mine is 6.5. That's my prescription. So like if I don't have glasses on, like right now I have no glasses on and my contacts are out and we're talking. No idea. You could be anybody right now. All I see is just white, just like a glowing white ball, sometimes moving around.
Dude, I'm topless just for you. This is an 18A podcast going on right here.
Damn it, and I'm missing it.
Yeah,
Anyway,
that's right.
So yeah, and then we played Age of Empires, which was awesome. Age of Empires 4. Although, listen, I don't even know who makes it. It's probably Xbox because they're stupid. But put freaking cities back in. Like, give me my city to build up. It's really dumb. I don't know. Like the gameplay, awesome, super fun. But guys, I want to build up my city in the background and get cards and get upgrades and stuff.
It was a really fun game. They slowed the game down. You can really see what's happening. Units are made individually. You don't make a group of units at once. So it's really neat to group things together. You can have like your groups, units in multiple groups. So I could have my archers in, like group 1 and 0 and 5 or something if I was mixing things up and doing different strategies. And they march in formation, which is really nice.
And smart too.
Yes.
Like the archers will go to the back, which is natural, but some games aren't always great when you put them in groups to actually separate them.
Yep. Yeah, and then they march in that way, but they do combat in that way. So it was all really good, but it was disappointing because my favorite thing about Age of Empires 3 was the reward for playing a certain empire over and over. That city system where, like as you leveled up as you played the Dutch more, that was my favorite. You would unlock, so you would get maybe 30 points overall to pick between 70 options, and you could pick which, upgrades or units would be available maybe earlier in the game.
Yep.
And I really liked that. It was like, wow, you've played this faction a lot. You can get powerful really quick. And so hopefully they end up coming out with something. I'd pay for an add-on for that.
Well, the XP now is useless to me and you. It changes your portrait. Hold on, let me put mine on D&D.
No, I can't.
It changes your portrait.
I can't put my phone on D&D. My son's do it's like twice a week I get a call. Hey, he fell off the concrete wall. Hey, he ran into this. Hey, he got pushed off the playground. He's always bleeding or something. So I can't. Because
that's awesome. I'm like, what? And you're calling me because
yeah, that's right. Yeah. You know what? I should actually put the school on my D&D list, and then
you should. But anyway, it for us, XP is useless in that game because we don't care about changing our portrait and changing our image in the background. And the monument it literally is just what shows in the center of your town's hall in the game, and I don't care. I literally didn't even really notice the fact that I had a wolf. So it was fun though.
Yeah, the game's good enough that the replay value for us is
gameplay's
fine.
Great.
Like we're just like, hey, you want to play again? And it's just the same thing over and over. But that's what we love about it. It is too bad they're missing out the extra motivation, but it's good enough. Yep. I'm happy with the $80 spent on Age of Empires 4.
Yeah, it's fun. I think we'll spend lots of time playing it. All right, so Scourge has been a week.
Scourge,
and we're gonna get into it now. I'm gonna let Tyler somewhat direct most of this conversation because I can't see shit. I'm trying here to like keep up with the notes. I do have lots to talk about. How was your first week?
Well, Justin, I'm glad you brought it up because this is a console only episode.
Tell you what, Cotton.
No, console had their league launch this week too,
gross.
Which was awesome. Okay. So no, but like people were excited about it. I'm getting messages about it and up yours. And there's actually a pretty big issue that I'm unhappy with, but it didn't impact me. It is, and it's about map conversion again. But I wasn't the one. I wasn't the one that brought it up.
It's bad though.
It's in PC. It is. It's horrible. And I'll get to it in a sec. Yeah. But I don't play often enough that I have that type of abundance of maps, and so I was able to convert my maps error free. I was disappointed that all of my Guardian maps are gone. I had about
Why are they gone?
9 to 12 of each of the 4 guardians, like the Shaper Elder guardians, and
Yep.
they're gone. All of a sudden it's 0. Whatever they converted to, it was like
Oh,
alleyways
it didn't
or
maintain
something.
that.
No,
Okay.
I don't know why, but it didn't. So now I have 0 of all of them. Maybe they're different. I doubt it, but maybe they're different. But anyway, so that was disappointing.
I want to just really quickly. I think the stash tab's fine to just quickly chat about right now. What like the fact that what's happening is that when you do the stash tab conversion in standard, if you have too many of it, it doesn't. There's no overflow set up properly, and it's not converting. But then it just doesn't work at all.
Right. So yeah, I don't know what's the stash tab. Let's say it's 60. Like each, you can have 60 of each map. Maybe 72. I don't know, but let's say it's 60. If you have 60 of a map, or remember, like they went from like 160 maps down to 100, right? So whatever certain maps are turning into, if once the conversion starts, if you have more than that tab can handle of that map, the entire conversion process doesn't happen. And they're working on something they said about.
Oh, it's bad though. Sorry to interrupt you, but to say that we're hoping to have something before 317,
that's garbage. Because map
That's
conversion's
really
been
bad.
happening for 7 years. So it's
but also, how do you play if you can't convert your maps right now in standard?
right. You're not progressing any new content. You can unlock your atlas, but you're not progressing any quest lines. So like
Right.
your Maven doesn't progress or anything like that if you're playing on legacy maps. You still get content. You still get all the core stuff. You just don't progress quests, which sucks.
Yeah,
It's not good enough.
it's pretty bad.
And this isn't new. How like them reducing the atlas is new,
Right.
but this map conversion is not new. So
Weird.
yeah,
And it's unfortunate.
Now, they said 317 at the latest, and they said we're hoping to get it out way sooner. So we might see something next week, but that does kind of like bring in both sides of the equation where you're like, oh, please don't let it be 317. But anyway, yeah, it was nice, and so then I was able to set up my this week in PoE. Oh no, wait, that's for me. Justin, you had an awesome idea while we were broadcasting that you were going to forget about. No, I don't think you've ever had a good idea, but I would like you to share your idea. Do you remember it? No, you don't.
I'm reading it, and to be honest, I'm reading it, and I still don't even remember fully. So maybe refresh my memory.
So you were thinking how cool it would be to have a teleport section in the passive tree.
Right. So I guess you could call it teleport. My thought was if you had jewels, so there's jewel slots on the tree. If you had the ability to socket 2 jewel slots with the same unique, but what that did was it basically connected the two. So now I could build off the tree, off of this unique jewel that is socketed somewhere else in the tree.
So you'd have a second starting point, kind of like the Scion would.
Kind of like the Scion, yeah, except you can control it based on the jewel. I think it'd be fun.
I think that's awesome. Put it in the bank, Justin. That's good.
That's right. I don't even require any money, GGG. You just take that and run with it. Okay.
Look at you. Nice guy.
I think it'd be fun.
Yeah.
I don't remember how it came up. We were talking about, it's because the tree is so fun. And Scourge has been awesome in the, I don't know, the base of 316. I'm loving it. I have a couple issues we'll talk about with Scourge, but I really, really like 316. But the tree is so fun. But now there's so many times where I'm like, God, I kind of just want something over there. You know, and I'm playing very much in the bottom left corner of the tree with my build. And there's some things where I'm like, man, if I could just literally, sometimes it's stupid. Like, boy, I would love to just grab that chaos resist section. That's it.
Wouldn't that be nice?
I don't need anything else, but I just, if there was some extra cost for me to somehow build up towards that area, besides like, hey, take 20 travel nodes to get up there.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. And you know what? Masteries are like half that idea. And we're blown away by masteries. It's really cool that you're like, wow, I love that. Oh, but you know what? There's an option to get that a lot closer, which is, I mean, never done before. So that, yeah, I really like your idea.
It's a lot of fun.
Before we get into patch notes, there's one quick thing I want to say about console. And this is a big deal for console people. When Betrayal was first released for console, it crushed the game. You couldn't play it. Anytime a Betrayal encounter would load, the entire system would freeze. Now, remember, the new series weren't out then. It was Xbox One and PS4. So what they did for a long time was they reduced, you only got one encounter instead of 3 in your map. And so basically, like, it was a high risk, high reward. If you lose that encounter, there's no other encounter to get, but your rewards were triple. right? So like
Oh,
XP
okay.
and all that kind of stuff. And I guess this is the league, and they released this when console 316 was released with console, but now they're going back to 3. So I guess they're prioritizing the PS5 and the Xbox Series S and
Oh, has
X
it been
now.
just one up until
Yeah.
this? Up until 3? Oh,
But
okay.
here's like I'm curious how it plays on the Xbox One, because it was the Xbox One that was lagging, and the game's available for both platforms. But now they're going and they're releasing and they're letting. So I don't know if maybe they've just changed the coding and now it's like it just runs smoother and they're capable of doing that. But I think it's a good time to do it because now they've changed how betrayal mods are unlocked, and like there's not really XP for it. You just click it, it's unlocked, great, done. You know what I mean? So it's a good time for it. So hopefully it works on the Xbox One and PS4. But that's exciting for us because now it's just more betrayal content if you can handle it.
The new unveiling is amazing.
Oh,
The
I
new,
absolutely
like,
love it.
you get all the crafts.
Yep.
Love it. So good.
Now, there were 10 patches since our last episode. And last one was just
Lots of
released
fixes.
last night. And there's lots. So I'm not going to go through everything that I thought was awesome or exciting. But did any stand out to you that you read before your eyes got shot?
It was a lot of bug fixes. Nothing that specifically stuck out to me. There's one, like, it's kind of a toss up because one of the things I want to talk about is what we're working on, which was kind of part patches that they announced at the top. Like, hey, here's some of our recent patches, and then here's stuff we're working on. But one of the things that they haven't fixed, and they kind of said they might be working on, but it was one of the things I found a little bit annoying with Scourge, is that first off, Scourge maps, probably one of my favorite things ever.
I haven't done one yet.
Running Scourge, okay, you have to. They're so much fun. And it's funny because one of my favorite parts about 316 is Scourge maps. One of my least favorite things about 316 is Scourged items. I think Scourged items are just absolutely trash. I think the way that it adjusts the item is 95% of the time not going to be useful for you, and with no direction to where it goes, which I'm fine with. It's not like you can guide it towards being better or something. I mean, there's the options in the skill tree to be like, well, maybe it's a tier up or tier down based on whether it's good or bad. But I think that's actually the worst part about Scourge. I don't like it at all. But Scourge maps are so much freaking fun. But there's one mod that rolls, which is in the Scourged version. So when you go into the Scourged dimension, your blood doesn't automatically drain. And maybe they are changing this a little bit, but it's not going to automatically drain. Instead, you lose 0.5% per mob you kill. Now, it's not actually per mob. I think it's per rare and unique you kill or something. Maybe it is per mob. But what happened to me is I ran a map like that, and when you go into the Scourge dimension, it's a set amount of mobs that are in the Scourge dimension. It's not like it's just, it's not constantly refreshing with new mobs. It's basically a new version of the map. But if you clear that Scourge dimension, there's no more monsters in the Scourge dimension. And I cleared the Scourge dimension faster than the main dimension, and the blood wasn't going down quite fast enough. So if you imagine you go into the main dimension, the first dimension, and the blood goes up, and you don't get to choose in this one when you go into the Scourge dimension, it automatically takes you when the blood gets full. Okay, but when you're in the Scourge dimension, you can hit V, that's the default key, to come out of the Scourge dimension, but you cannot hit V to go into the Scourge dimension, right? So you go into the Scourge dimension, you kill a bunch of stuff, the blood starts to drain. When it empties out, it takes you back into the main dimension. The problem for me was I cleared the Scourge dimension out. There was no more mobs left to kill in the Scourge dimension, which is how you get the blood to come down. But I hadn't finished clearing the main dimension, so every time I came out, I'd kill 2 mobs and boof, back into the Scourge dimension.
Because it would autofill and auto-take you.
The V goes on a cooldown of like 4 seconds, so I'd sit in the blood dimension and wait for 4 seconds and then hit V and come back out, but the blood had not moved. So as soon as I killed a single mob, whoop, back up. Like, and it would happen in Canyon, and the bosses in Canyon, it's the bird and the dog. I had to kill them in sets. Like, as I killed one, and I was like, oh, back into the blood. And I'm like, okay, let me just chill here for a minute, and then hit V, and then I killed some ads around it and got sucked back into it. So it was, I think I read something maybe that they're going to make it so that there is a slow drain continuously of the blood, but I don't know, somehow the math must be wrong, because the fact that I could clear an entire Scourge dimension while not doing the normal dimension, the mechanic behind the Scourge map is my favorite thing. The loot you can get is insane if you like Scourge up your map quite a bit, but some of the things were a little bit weird.
Yeah, that's too bad because I like the concept of what you kill is what drains it, because then it doesn't matter how slow of a player you are. It
Totally.
lets that defense first player clear content at their own pace, at their own speed, and that's great. So hopefully they come out with something that can accommodate both. It's too bad that there was a small oversight there.
One of the changes that I read on there about what we're working on, and again, we can talk patches and this, but I just wanted to bring this up because it made me laugh, was there's a new thing that when you encounter a boss now in the Scourge dimension, that the blood will stop draining. Did you see that?
Oh, upon encountering a boss in Nightmare, the drain of blood from the Crucible now paused for 5 seconds.
And what that, I read that and it made me laugh because it just confirmed to me what Chris said a little bit, which is you better kill and clear fast.
Yeah.
Because 5 seconds was like, for sure, for most builds, fine. But I was like, you're not really giving the person who's maybe got a bit of a slower build much of a chance to say like, hey, you got 5 seconds to kill this boss.
Yeah, in a league where you've changed all the defenses and you want people to see what it's like. Maybe you don't need as much investment anymore. I don't know. But yeah, it's definitely, we're going to slow the league down, or we're going to slow the game down later.
Yeah, later. Exactly.
It's something we've thought about. Yeah.
What, did anything stand out to you?
Yeah, just some like
patch-wise?
A couple bugs or patches where it's like, wow, I'm glad that didn't happen to me. Like fixed a bug where players are sometimes unable to return from side areas or missions in maps.
Lots of crashes, lots of crash fixes, which is good and bad. I'm still getting them.
I actually, you know what? I've had a very crash-free. I think I crashed twice since the B patch, but it's been a really stable launch for me. So
I have crashed a number of times, but I thankfully haven't lost anything to it. I've kept my portals, which I'm happy about, but
I liked this. The corruption absorbed progress bar displays underneath items, and you don't have to hover it, so it's always displayed. I like that.
Love it.
Yeah.
Somebody suggested that on Reddit and even put like an image on Reddit saying like, couldn't we just keep this bar here, which is so much nicer.
Yeah.
Love it.
I wish I could do more like editing and stuff. Maybe more of my ideas would get implemented if I could show them what I wanted. Lots
arrows pointing.
Right. Okay, now check out this animation with this, and so anyway,
that's right.
There was a lot of enemy changes for Scourge. I did really like that though. I don't mind difficult. I hate off-screen damage. Some of the stuff I'm getting off-screen still. There's those guys. They have a wicked tell if you can see them, but then they have that big like mini shaper beam that smacks you. But I don't mind enemy balance changes. One thing that I am liking about all these Scourge changes is it's not changing the league mechanic like Heist did. You know what I mean? Where it's just basically like they changed the whole league.
Right.
And I know that doesn't happen all that often, but I am very glad that with all the feedback they've been getting, it's still been, no, this is Scourge. Yeah, we'll tweak it, but this is Scourge. And I like that. I like that a lot.
Well, there was something though about like what we're working in with regards to some Scourge improvements, which I think is good because Scourge, it's funny. And I feel like we actually talked about this in a last episode it was the last episode. Scourge is like my least exciting thing about 316, which is funny because it's the league mechanic, but I love what they have done. The Atlas is amazing. Passive tree is incredible. Really, really good. It's a pretty smooth gameplay. Scourge is like, I could do with just the maps. If I had the Scourge maps, then that's it. I would be pretty fine with it.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. But that's how core stuff works, right? They take the best from the league and they throw it in core.
I don't think this is going core. I don't think it is. The more I played it, I was like, I don't see this thing going core.
Corrupting items, even though you're giving people new currency to play with them a little bit more. Corrupted items, I found, as leveling, like I really like the league. I'm enjoying all aspects of it, including how the items and the Scourgey thingy. But I do find that Scourge is just for fun. You corrupt an item for fun. You know what I mean? You're not planning around it ever or at all. For me. And I like that, but that's not like if I've all of a sudden, oh shoot, I forgot about that for the last 5 maps. I'm not going to care because my build doesn't need it at all. I'm just hoping for a fluke, and pros and cons with that. I actually with I would hate to have this because I'm a slow progressor, but fixed a bug where watchstones could sometimes fail to drop from Conqueror Citadels. Goodness, that would suck. And then we already talked about map conversion. There's a massive problem with elemental overload. Not working with traps, mines, totems, and That's crazy. That's crazy. There actually is a lot of people were thinking that it wasn't working for channeling skills as well. Do you know where it doesn't show you elemental overload as a buff anymore?
Oh, why?
Because it's not for your entire build. It's only for one skill.
I thought it showed on the skill.
It shows
now,
on
like
the skill itself, right?
Yeah, just look down at the bottom. I'm playing. I don't know if I told you this. I'm playing the game now in 1920 by 1080 on a 3440 by whatever monitor. Like my monitor is ultra wide.
In English people, that's really, really wide.
Like 99% of the people listening understood what I just said. But I'm playing the game in a very small window right now on my monitor, and that's literally just because there are so many things in different corners of this game now that I can't watch it on an ultra wide monitor. It's super frustrating. That's brutal if it's that small on a tiny thing and that's it.
The icon was very small. Someone on, I forget if it was Discord or Reddit, I forget, my apologies, but they posted a picture of what it looks like. Oh no, it was one of my guides. They had an imager thingy. And it is a super small diamond. And I'm glad they posted it because I just did my example video for Righteous Fire and I'm like, oh no, I can't see elemental overload. And I'm pretty sure GGG said like it's going to show up on the skill. It's not a global buff anymore. But I couldn't see it. I was looking for it and I couldn't see it. And so
who looks down there anyway?
Oh, console players do. That's where all your counters are. Like when it tells me how many zombies I have, it doesn't tell me in the top left. It tells me on the zombie skill, which makes sense because I mean that's not a global thing, right? It tells me how many of everything I have down on the skill itself. So anyway, but EO, hopefully they fix it for traps, mines, and totems soon because that's a big deal. And yeah, I can skip everything else.
They're getting rid of a bunch of the shield dudes that show up in.
Oh, did they? Or are they?
Scourge. I don't know if you've done a Scourge yet where you get just like 4 billion shielded guys. It was ridiculous. So they're going to spawn less often, which is good. Because it was crazy.
I like it when companies like this have rules for their random spawn natures. You know, like only a certain amount of rares can show up, or you know, only certain mods can coexist with other ones. Otherwise, there's the impossible nature, like that old boss on what's it called, the big rock boss, where they used to have like multiple bosses could spawn with the like you can't kill
peninsula.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so I like it when they have a little bit of rules like that, especially when it comes to the types of, you know, the innate skills that certain enemies have as well. So I think that's good.
It needs to happen. It's annoying as crap.
And then I don't. Why do I have this here? Anyway, it's supposed to be a little bit later, but
tell me.
MTX for Scourge Lord. Do you see the MT? Oh my goodness, it looks so good.
What is it? What is it? MTX? What does that mean? MTX for Scourge
Lord?
Well,
like a new MTX. It's a Scourge Lord armor set. Oh, it's like
cool.
white demony with like drippy fangs and stuff. Super cool. Super cool.
That's pretty sweet.
But yeah, and then a whole bunch of stuff happened, right? Like they had they told us how Scourge's launch went. They still have some Exile Con, like the leftover stuff that nobody wanted from Exile Con. They had that big post about what they're working on, and it's always like for me, I've had a very good launch, and I'm a very casual player. So when I'm having a rough time and I see what we're working on, it's always good news for me, right? But then when I'm having a decent launch and nothing's really impacting me, I'm not trying to be apathetic to other people's struggles, but it's always interesting seeing what we're working on when nothing's impacting you, because you're like, wow, I had no idea. That's crazy. And you read it with a different light. And I guess they're even changing like how rewards work in Scourge as well, trying to make it more enticing for people, I guess.
Yeah, I like the posts where they say what they're working on, usually in a good or bad league, because that to me is more, it's something to look forward to as to what is already on their minds to either fix or to improve on. There's a couple things that they said were missed in the patch notes. So was this patch notes, when they say missing patch notes, does that mean the things they talked about are already implemented in game? They just forgot to mention it?
Right. So these are things that they've done and they should have been in the patch notes, but they weren't.
Okay. I was nervous that these were things to come because one of the things was that the tower shields provide significantly more armor than armor and evasion of other types, making them a no-brainer for non-crit shields. So they're going to reduce the armor provided by the top-end shields, but raise the average defense of other shields. So difference in base defenses isn't as extreme. And when I read that, I was like, at first I was like, oh, please don't do that. Like I thought that this was something coming because I'm playing General's Cry with a shield crush. I need my shield. Like I literally have been building my shield specifically to try and increase the armor on them. it made me really nervous that this was a to come thing. But
Yeah, no, I think
It's already
from
out
what how I gathered it is that was something that was already implemented. They just didn't let people know about it. I just wish that they
Sure.
would come out with numbers, like if they were changing defensive values of certain things.
do you mean like a percentage or what?
As a filter creator, I want to know because I have my tops, right? These are the items that are going to show up until this item level based on these stats and these available tiers. And this is what it's going to look like if it can roll all these tier 1 mods. And these are the top ones that are going to show. And this one was selected because it can roll the highest armor out of the strength shields. Or this one's going to show because it has the highest block chance out of all the strength shields. So when they change that, it changes which ones are tops and then which ones are hidden. And I don't know. I want to know, right? Need to be able to compare.
Wasn't there an item filter problem too that they fixed? I think it was jewels were showing as a, I don't know how that works for an item filter, but it was like giving them a value of 0 when they should have had a value of 100.
There was,
or
if you were doing very specific looks for certain types of jewels. Yes. GGG was also, though, on fire. And by the way, I'm absolutely loving Scourge. I don't know if that sounded positive or negative or apathetic, that whole section, but I enjoyed it. But I'm absolutely loving it. But I wanted to point out GGG had 2 awesome tweets. I love how this company is representing itself with these 2. So Ziz had a tweet saying, about his birthday and how thankful he is for everyone. And it was a very sweet message. Pathofexile responds to Ziz and says, "Happy birthday. Thanks for all of your contributions to the community. If you could read, we'd send you a birthday card." I like it. It's fun, like having like that.
Is there like an inside joke to that about him not reading, or
maybe? I don't know. I mean, but I do love the fact that the company is willing to be that dark
jokes
with it. Yeah,
it's fun.
And then, have you ever heard of? I don't even know how to say her name because she's like half our age, and so I don't understand these things. But you've heard of Pokimane? She's a Canadian broadcaster with millions of followers. Okay. She's one of those like official Twitch people, I guess you could say, like Ninja, like because she was in Free Guy, one of those popular Twitch streamers that if you watch that stuff you'd recognize their cameo. So anyway, she tweeted something and said, and the only reason I know about it is because of PoE's response, but she said, "The biggest announcement of my career coming tomorrow at 10 a.m. PST," whatever day that was, October 27th. So Ziz replies to her and is like, "Oh, you're going to start playing Path of Exile?" And she replies with, No. I'm not retiring yet." Right? Kind of a dig. So GGG catches wind of it. They screenshot that conversation, which is kind of funny. I thought that was hilarious by Pokimane to do that, and both Ziz as well. But then GGG posts that, and she's like, Path of Exile says, "I guess Pokimane woke up today and chose violence."
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was awesome. Then she responded, but I thought it was like, I'm just liking the dark humor of the company on their official site. I thought it was awesome. So it really made me smile this week. It was pretty sweet.
How was your PoE week? How's things going for you? And we talked about what's changed and some of the stuff that happened this week in PoE, but how's your week been in PoE?
It's been good. I had a really good PoE week. Like I watched on Ziz's Twitch channel, his partner, she played on his channel for a bit, and it was hilarious.
Cool.
She doesn't play at all. It was so funny.
Nice.
Oh my goodness. And they edited it and cut it so it was proper. He made sure she logged in, and then right away, as soon as he saw her laying there on the beach, he's like, "Okay, see ya." I guess he was going to sleep because he was doing like a marathon later.
This is on Twitch or on YouTube?
Twitch. Oh, well, I guess I saw it on YouTube, but she was on Twitch, and then they just cut it into 30 minutes.
Sure.
And it was hilarious, and she didn't know anything.
So she's just going blind?
No, like she was looking around, and like she's like kill someone, and she's like, "Okay, now like do I like harvest their bones or something?" Like she's thinking it's a dark game or something. She's like,
"Is this her talking to his chat?"
Yeah, and so they're trying to help her along.
Awesome.
Oh, it was hilarious, and she was thinking like you'd make like a knife out of the dead person's bones or something.
Makes sense, of course.
Yeah. So anyway, it was just awesome seeing those perspectives and how things worked. And
did he turn on just the default loot filter, or
I don't remember. Yeah, I think it was the default one. I don't know which one it was. I also had a hilarious time on Reddit. Somebody was looking for a build that doesn't require a lot of clicking.
Okay.
So my name was mentioned, my guides were mentioned, and they said something. Oh, what did they say? Record Days does something similar to that. It's easy on your hands and stuff. It's good for like a chill play style or lazy or anything like that. So I respond to that, And I say, I also hear he's ridiculously good looking.
Of course you did.
But it got upvoted like crazy. It was so fun. And everybody that
Because
replied,
you are ridiculously good looking.
Only when your eyes aren't working. But
it's true.
It was fun because every single person that responded to it just kept the joke going. And it was just a light fun. It was like, it was just so fun. There was so many different people that interacted and just made other people smile. So yeah, it was a lot of fun to have fun with other people on Reddit. I guess it's a little extra fun because it was Reddit. So yeah, it was nice. And then, I mean,
it's not the typical.
Well, I guess it's honestly, I think Reddit's been so much better since just the spotlight that was put on it for the umpteenth time at the beginning of 3.15.
Do you think that's why, or do you think it's because 3.16 has been a good launch and a good league?
Both. I
Right.
do think they go hand in hand, but 3.15 was a lot kinder in general, in my opinion. There was a lot of people that were just intentionally going out of their way to be kind or helpful and direct people to certain places. And
last league?
3.15, yeah, post interviews, 3.15, the last half of 3.15 did, in my opinion, from what I saw, it seemed very different. For me, also, it was very guide heavy, right? Because of the console launch, that means I could get my guide videos out and I could do a few things. So it was nice to make my example videos and actually get some gameplay in for a couple of the guides that I'm writing. And I use PoE Planner as my main method of theory crafting. I know most people use Path of Building. I love PoE Planner. I think it's awesome. I like being able to save my stuff and then take it elsewhere, right? Because it's an online planning tool. I can have a link set up so that any changes I make are automatically uploaded to people. So it's really nice. They'll always get the most up-to-date version if I ever make changes. Anyway, I had a suggestion/bug thing that I noticed with their setup. And so I emailed them, and they're really easy to email. I don't have to know any coding to figure things out and let them know what's going on. And they said, yeah, no, it's an issue for now. Once this is done, we'll figure it out. Once it got fixed, they emailed me, just me, to let me know that my suggestion got fixed. That was super. That's the best customer service. I wish my ISP had that kind of customer service. But anyway, overall, Justin, I've had an awesome time. It's been primarily PC for me outside of making those example videos for that one console session. And, one quick thing on console. It's probably the exact same thing on PC, but because I'm respeccing a standard character, I'm getting 100 nodes, right? Or 113, 14 nodes to respec. So I go through in sections, I get that free respec. So I'll do a section of the tree. I'll do maybe 30 nodes, including the masteries. The new level up sound, like when you click on a skill and approve it, it makes a really cool epic sound now. You know what I love it. Yeah, and it sounds really good. When you do a whole bunch at once, it goes in order. So it used to be just poof, and all of them were done. Now it goes in order of the path, and the masteries make an extra cool sound, and it like explodes on the screen a bit. So it sounds.
When you say,
go ahead.
Sorry, when you say it goes in order, do you mean like, so I think the reason I'm maybe not totally understanding is I control click. You're talking about I select my path and then hit apply and then it does that?
Yeah,
that's cool.
I'm going, let's say I'm starting at the Marauder, right? And then I'm going south and I'm getting a few of these endurance charge nodes and increasing my resists or whatever. And then I start going north. So I'm going to do the south part first. I do about 30 nodes. Click, 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 click. I do it. And then I hit submit or apply, whatever it is.
Apply,
and it goes in order. It makes that cool sound.
That's cool.
And then you hit a mastery. It's like, oh man,
that's awesome.
Yeah, it is. I loved it. I was so excited. I wanted to respec again and again and again.
Yeah,
so it was awesome. And Justin, I am loving the metamorph style expedition pickups.
Yep.
Oh my goodness. So awesome. And this isn't me complaining, but imagine if they did that for Scrolls of Wisdom up to like a cap or Portal Scrolls, or I don't know. I just love that I want to do Expedition now. As a casual player, I skipped Expedition almost after Act 3. It was just, I didn't feel like it. It wasn't rewarding for a casual player that wasn't focused on a specific outcome. So I'm excited. Every time I see an Expedition in a map now, I'm like, oh, this is great. And I feel like I'm doing it for the first time because I skipped so much of it last league. So, and it is 100% because of the pickup. 100%. That item weight worked in a negative way in 3.15. And it's removing that item weight value per se from, how the argument would work on the other side is making me more engaged in the content. So I'm loving it.
It's funny now when you get into like say an expedition area while your Scourge bar maybe is full, the buttons now at the bottom right that show for like the league mechanic are now much more than just like a single one. So I was trying, what was I trying to do? I was trying to get into the Scourge dimension, but it kept bringing up the expedition circle to place detonators. It was one or the other. Whatever I wanted, it couldn't do it. And I was like, oh my God, I gotta actually click now to get this stupid thing to work because there's so many things now that can show up in that bottom right.
Yeah, it's crazy. But I'm loving it. I'm absolutely loving it. And oh man, like leveling just with Scourge in general. I had so many insane map layouts. But I'm starting to think that I say this every league. Like I'm starting to really enjoy the randomness of the campaign maps.
Do you find them that different?
Some are exactly the same, right? Like as you're going to Tukohama or away from Tukohama, it's always the same. But some of them are insanely different. They're all over the place. They're like just twisted upside down, flipped around, shaken around with a whole bunch of dice and thrown back out. They're pretty neat. Like it took me a long time to level because I was doing maps that I was basically because I thought it would be like it normally is. It wasn't, and now I'm taking all this extra time to try and figure out where I am in this map, right? And so, but it was cool. It was cool.
What are you playing?
I went with my bone zombie build, so it's a necromancer zombie build. Zombies are the primary. I also have specters and a golem, but it's all about the zombies. They do all the damage, and it revolves around the reason it's called bone zombies is because it revolves around bone offering and glancing blows, along with using bone armor as kind of the primary defense for it. And I do use meat shield on my zombies, so I am closer to combat, but I find that actually keeps me safer because I learn the enemy systems and tells a lot more. And then of course there's the zombie taunt. So yeah, no, I'm really enjoying it. Really enjoying it. What are you playing? You mentioned shield crush charge thing?
General's Cry. Using Shield Crush. I played around with like Shield Charge and God, I hate that they're so close. Shield Crush and Shield Charge, just to see what I like better. But I've pretty much committed to Shield Crush, and it's fun. I completely switched my build around a little bit, which was not normal for me to do it that early into the league because I don't typically have regrets. But I wanted to try out the new versatile combat and seeing, do I like having a higher attack damage block chance, or would I rather have 50% of both?
Oh,
and I think I'm leaning towards the 50% of both. It's actually a bit of work to get to 50% of both, though. To actually, because you basically at 75% attack block is where you'll hit 50% of both, right? Because it's basically you have to, it's the overcapped block is what gives you the spell block. So you have to have, and then you can get spell block obviously on the tree as well. So it took me a bit to get up to having 50 of both. I was stuck at like 50 and 47 for quite a while.
Unacceptable.
But I know. And that was really bothering me.
I know.
So much so that I was like, I'm just going to get a freaking jewel and like with 2% chance to block with shield or something. I was so irritated by the fact that it wasn't 50, but it's going good. I'm progressing. The Atlas is so different now.
It is.
And I do like it. I really do like it. I like the fact that it's much easier to progress Silas, love that guy. Cyrus.
Yeah, the good twin brother.
But it is weird. I'm finding like my map pool is fine. I have reds and I have yellow maps, but I don't have a very big variation in those reds and yellows because I didn't have to expand outwards to get additional maps in a section. I could just keep running the same map because it was dropping, but the connected maps weren't necessarily dropping. So I don't have like a lot of tier 8s or tier 9s. Do you know what I mean? I've got like 4 of the tier 8s or tier 9s. And that actually kind of sucks because I don't have ones I like. So it's quite often where I'm going like, God, do I really want to run this one again? Like there's just some maps I just don't like doing, and it just happens to be the one that I've unlocked. So I'm doing more with Xana, trying to unlock more, and I might actually get to the point of just trying to buy some of the ones that I don't have. But it is so much nicer now to progress conquerors. It was funny when I first started into maps, I was like, oh, it's so weird to not be planning like how do I quickly get to the outside corners of the Atlas.
You just start
so
playing.
I can start the conquerors. It just starts. They're there. So It was good, but build's fine. It's fun. It's moving pretty quickly. It's getting tougher into the reds. I'm not sure. I got to play around a little bit with my gear, but yeah, it's fun.
I just got into maps, and I'm finding that I need. I focused too much on the. Like, I still essence and alch almost everything as long as I have the alchs I need for buying the gems I get once either Lily or what's his name in the library, Siosa. As long as I have enough alchs for that, I'm fine to use them on items as I'm leveling to make leveling easier. But I found that unintentionally I relied too much on the Scourge mechanic for my free alching. And then all of a sudden...
they're not great.
Well... you have the same opportunity with everything else, but the thing, I mean, obviously essences are nice because you can pick and choose if you have a few of them, but you can add stuff to those ones, an alch or an essence thing, whereas your corrupted item, you're like, oh, okay. So, and then only after
and it's got sometimes like a minus 20 to resist.
Yeah, well, yeah, so I don't equip those, but all of a sudden I'm like, all right, I'm like flying through whites here, and I'm having a rough time because I'm struggling to get 40% of my resists. Struggling. And so
did you make it all the way to maps using some of the scourged items?
Oh yeah.
Wow.
And some and like as we mentioned, it's not a criticism of the mechanic, it's just how valing and corrupting works in the game. But I hit maps with some white items because I'm just not getting stuff that I found beneficial. It would be more of a more con than positive to equip some of these things. So I think I had like a white helmet and a white pair of gloves or something like that. I forget.
You didn't have any essences or anything to throw on it, eh?
I was saving a couple of them for something specific, but either way, it was I accidentally focused too much on enjoying my free alching with Scourge and kind of screwed myself for mapping. So my progress is going to be a little bit slower, but I am in maps now. And one thing I want to mention about I loved hearing you talk about what you want to do with your block chance, because that means they did a really good job balancing that node.
It's funny because I thought I would hate it.
Yeah, well, I mean, we think about how great the old one knows. So it's like, okay, well, just keep that old one and then just give me something else that's tempting. But then when they change something like this, it's kind of like what they did with Glancing Blows after they changed it that second time. It went from, 50%, I think, to 35%. Like, it's good. Now it's like, well, should I or shouldn't I? And when you have to think about it for more than a second or a few minutes, you know it's a well-balanced node. So I liked hearing you think about it.
It was nice too because you now could take it as any ascendancy.
Yeah.
So then it let me go berserker and still try to play around with how do I want to play with block. It was fun, and I did not think I was going to do it at all. But as I was playing with the tree, I'm like, well, I'm four nodes away. Maybe that fifth. It's really hard to get it through your head, like, or even understand in my head. I still don't. Do I want 75 to 79% chance to block all attack damage, or is it better having 50% of both? And especially now with all the plus to max resist too, it's, I don't know, I'm really enjoying the tree. I'm really enjoying the tree being something that you can build into a defensive build. Obviously you still have to have clear and attack and speed, but you can use the tree a lot now to kind of manipulate your defenses, and I do enjoy that.
Yeah, for sure. One thing when you were talking about maps, they made, I think it was Laboratory is the one where there's that almost like shaper.
Yeah, it's a tier 2. You had me thinking it was tier 1, and I was like, how did I miss that? But it's tier 2.
Oh, is it tier 2? Oh, that's the one where you have like the four corners where you have the levers, and then it makes the 4 portals, and then the boss is the one that makes that massive vortex. But it goes through stages.
If you don't kill him fast enough, yep.
Right, and then you have to get to the portal, right? Once you've killed that stage, you have to run to the portal, and the vortex keeps getting bigger. That's a really mean one to have at the beginning, because my resists aren't capped. And I can't get, I'm like struggling to get to that portal as that vortex is getting bigger, and I couldn't do it.
You know what's weird though? That vortex is actually supposed to disappear. It's supposed to actually disappear as he leaves that zone to the next area.
I don't think it ever has.
Because I did it the day after you and I talked about it. I was like, how did I not have this map? And then I found it was a tier 2. And I was kind of laughing to myself, like, maybe the degen or whatever that thing is that the guy smashes onto the ground didn't disappear, because it is supposed to. It just kept
getting bigger, and it went past the portal I'm supposed to get in, and then then I'm waiting. I go through the thing, and I have 9 seconds of invulnerability, and I'm like, okay, how am I going to do this? So I get my what was it? My sapphire, is that the cold one? I get my sapphire flask ready to go. Yeah. I got my life flask all ready to go. I got like their bug gonna get hit at the same time.
I love that you're flasking to get to a portal.
Oh man, and I'm like, I'm right there. I'm like 2 inches on my screen, and I go, and then I'm like, okay. I'm looking at the timer. I'm like 3, 2, 1. I click on the portal and I'm bad mashing my flask, and I don't make it. I'm like, tier 2, come on. Now I know I wasn't having like the best of resist luck because of my fault, but at the same time, I'm like, man. So I don't have laboratory completed on my atlas.
You didn't finish it? That's
no, that was the only one I had. So, but anyway, I really like when they mix up the tier 1 maps. To me, I don't care how everything else works out. I have 2 requests every league when they do atlas mix-ups. Mix up the T1s because there's only 4 of them. Love it. And never, ever, ever put race course in the same region as Val Temple. Because I want race course to be my favorite. That's the only map I ever want to drop, and I will never ever beat Val Temple. You put it in Val Temple, I will never be able to mark race course as a favorite.
You're talking about the tier 16 Val Temple one, because there is a Val Temple. Isn't there like a tier? I think it's tier 3 or something.
Val City maybe.
No,
I don't know. Yeah, I'm talking about the stupid one that only drops. You can't like
tier 16.
Whatever, man.
It's not too hard to get. But
the
only thing I will say about the tier 1 switch up that I do like when they do it. My only thing is, please don't put some garbage map. Like, some of your maps are garbage. They know some of them are like, they're not the greatest layouts. I mean, there's a number of them.
I forget. There's
I don't mind
some
fields.
of the newer ones.
I don't like cells. Not a fan.
Is that all like dungeony?
So yeah, okay. I don't want estuary. Amazing pick for a tier 1.
What is that?
Awesome tier.
Estuary. It's the one. Them.
So estuary, the easiest way to describe estuary is the one with all the chests. There's you're on like a beach and there's chests everywhere, and you fight the dude that you go through a fire portal and he swaps between the different elements.
Oh yeah.
When you're fighting him,
it's a
great
good
tier 1 map.
Wall hugging map.
It's just open. It's not like an annoying try and find your way through this map type of map.
Gotcha.
I'd agree with you. I like when they swap them up. It's a lot of fun.
There's so many good things from this core release, though. I just I'm absolutely loving. Oh man, I forgot. I'm buying a lot. This was the most I think I ever interacted with vendors.
How so?
Well, because I want to Val everything. I want to Scourge everything. And I'm having such a hard time with my crappy Scourge rolls. So I'm like going to the vendor and I'm like, okay, I'm super short. So I'm looking for like, a ruby flask, because my fire was like -8 when I was going through the Tukahama stuff. I'm like, I can't, no. So I'm like looking for ruby rings. And then I'm like looking for more amulets because as I was leveling, I needed more strength and dex. So I'm always looking for, I forget what it is, citrine or something. I don't know what it is. I'm looking for that specific amulet. And then I was always looking for wands. I wanted wands to show as +1. But on my wand, I want 3 blue sockets, but only 2 linked. And so because I was a little short on jewelers, always short on jewelers until you're at the end game, I'm like buying every single wand that has a 2 and a 1 3 socket, and then I'd be throwing them in the Scourge thing. And so I was having so much fun. I was interacting more than anything with the accessory and jewel seller in town every single time I went in, because I don't pay attention to when I level or when I don't level. I get excited when I level up. But then it's like, oh shoot, when I go to the vendor, I'm like, did I level up? Did this change? I don't know. So I just checked all the time. I had a great time. It was fun. It was fun. And go ahead.
316 to me has been super fun. Yeah. Scourge is hilariously the least favorite of the things besides Scourge maps, but I love where they're going right now with the game. 316's fun.
Rogue markers, Justin, along with everything else, they are in one pile.
I did heist like crazy after I beat Act 10. Actually, before I beat Kitava, I went and did a ton of heisting for currency. It's actually how I afforded most of my gear, was to do that before I took the hit to my resists, and just did a ton of heisting.
Gotcha.
Did I tell you I already have Uber done? Uber Lab?
No, good for you.
Yep, already done.
No big deal, right? Passed the game, basically.
The only thing that's annoying is Crippling Grief has been the only... what is it? The trial. That's been the only trial in maps to show up, and it's my least favorite one.
Which one is that?
So it's all the poison dart shooting.
Easiest.
It's all stupid. No, burning the one with fire to me is the easiest one, but There's a couple that are easy. I just hate that one. It slows you down. It's annoying. But
Yeah.
I did it one time, and every time I run past it now, I'm like, nope, don't even need to touch it.
That's nice.
One time's enough.
Yeah, that is nice. Another thing I'm loving is the new flask recovery rate. I don't see a lot of people talking about it, but to me, it's amazing. Now I'm using divine flasks instead of eternal flasks. I like, because they recover so fast, I like the slower of the two recovery rates, just to be sure, because I'm slower, so I'm taking more damage as I'm escaping. But the new speed of the life flasks is so refreshing. I don't feel as scared, but I still need to be very careful with when I use them. And because they're so fast, I'm now, Justin, Reddit approved with my flask management. That's right. I have one.
What does that mean?
Well, I can't tell you how many times I get criticized for having more than one life flask. Like when people look at my characters, right?
Yeah,
and here's in my guides, I'll be like, and here's my character setup, just in case you need some reference points. As soon as people see 3 life flasks, they're like, you don't play right. You're an idiot. You don't know what you're doing. So now, though, for me in my play style, with how instilling orbs work and the new rate of life flasks, like a lot of the times I'd have to have 2 life flasks going just to make sure that I'm surviving whatever circumstance, and then a quartz flask to phase out of the danger. Now I can have 1 life flask. Like, these flask changes, Justin, to me are so good. I don't know what GGG feels about them. They really haven't been talked about very much since this, but they wanted with 315 flasks in general to be used, I guess, to be stronger, but to be used less often. Now, I don't know where that flies, because they've done a lot of changes, and I don't know if the recovery rate, or the charge recovery rate is what it used to be. I still don't know if it's less, maybe it's more, I don't know. I really like where flasks are now. Because of instilling orbs and the recovery rate of life, I can have 1 life flask, and I feel like if I'm out of a flask, it's because it's just been a really crappy situation, and I deserve to die because I didn't have to.
I agree with you that flasks are, I think, in a better spot, but I also am going to double down on what we said last week, which is that the new crafting with Einhar is dumber than anything.
100%. Who plays a game and it's like, okay, of the deer. Oh, what do you mean you don't know what that means?
What does that mean?
You're an idiot.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's stupid. It's absolutely stupid that there's no information on it to mouse over and find out. Absolutely. We've said that enough. Whatever. We said it once, and now we're saying it twice. It's stupid.
And we'll say it next week if it's not done.
I was crafting a couple of my flasks. So on to Google I go, and onto the wiki, and trying to figure out, like, I want to put bleed on I think it was my life flask. I was going to put it on my life flask. So I got to figure out, what is it? What is it on the life one? And I'm having to, find online what are these charts that show what they are. And now they've added tiers to the mods. So bleeding doesn't just have a single staunching, here's your one thing. It's got like 5 tiers it can roll based on the item level of the flask. Okay. So far. Now I want the bleed version on my item level. I think it was like 880. It was high enough to get the top tier or second top tier of the bleed one. But when you go to craft at Einhar, he only offers the bottom tier level of a craft, which is of sealing. For just in case you're wondering, sealing is the one for blood for a life flask, but because that's not the animals is utility. But
obviously,
that meant that the only way for me to get it would be very, very difficult currently to get the mods you want now on a flask, because if I want bubbling, so I have a instant flask heal on my heal.
Oh, is that bubbling?
And the higher tier bleed, which just lasts longer, my chances are so unbelievably low, because I can roll all the lower tier of the bleed as well.
But you think that's bad?
Yeah, I do. I think it makes it extremely difficult to get the actual flask you want. Why not allow for some ability? Like, what if of staunching was the only thing that it was? Why offer the craft of only the lowest tier to go on to a higher item level item? I think the chances of me alteration and augmenting a flask to get bubbling and the higher tier bleed is just going to take forever. So I was like, well, forget it. I'll just put a ceiling on it.
Are there flask options in the crafting bench?
No,
So
you have it just with Einhar.
I like how the crafting bench works, that you can never craft outside of a few like unique crafts, like, you know, multi-modding or something like that. You're never going to get the best roll on your crafting bench, right? Like movement speed. You can't craft the fastest movement speed that can drop. You can't craft the highest life roll that can roll on a chest piece. You can craft, you know, second or third best, whatever it is. So I like that you can't get the best or have that very deterministic crafting with flasks as well, but it still isn't tiered. Like Einhart's still just the bottom one. Now, I noticed it with the utility flasks, and I only noticed 3 tiers on the utility flask. I was on PoE looking at the different tiers because I was trying to find out which one gets rid of fire for the ruby flask and whatever it was. And then I started realizing, oh, okay, yeah, they only have the lower tier available. And I like that, but it would be nice if you had the option to have maybe the lower tier for a certain price of, I guess in this case, animals or beasts, and then maybe do the second tier, but never the top tier. I don't know.
It just, to me, it's a lot of currency now to actually get your flasks rolled well to where you want them. And maybe that's not a bad thing, except that you have 5 flasks. So to try and actually get them to be, okay, I've gone and I've actually cleared high content, I've got a high item level flask, but now I am going to just drain my alterations and my augments, hoping to get, not only do I want the prefix that I want, which for a number of flasks, there's relatively better prefixes than others, but now the suffix, it's like, you're not fighting between like maybe 10 suffixes, you're fighting between 40 suffixes because some of those suffixes have 3 or 4 roles that they could go in between.
Yeah.
That was the only thing that I found. When I realized that there were that many, I was like, oh, I'm just going to craft on the lowest one. I'll never be able to get the combo I want until probably to the point I'm already done the league and I'm got tons of alterations and augments. Then I could maybe try it. But or, you know, if they were going to do that, then maybe also give you the ability to craft the prefix onto it as well, so that I could roll an item, and maybe if I happen to get lucky and it only rolled the suffix, but it was the suffix I want, then I could craft the prefix onto it.
Like an orb that would only roll a suffix or only roll a prefix, as opposed to
no,
rolling
but
both?
like if I'm rolling,
I like
so
that
when I rolled for the health one, I just rolled it and with alterations, and I rolled bubbling, but no, it didn't roll a suffix, which is great because that lets me then take it to Einhar and craft the suffix onto it. I'm just saying maybe the option that if I rolled it and I got lucky and only hit my suffix that I wanted, but there was no prefix rolled yet, then let me go craft it. Because if I roll the suffix I want and I get the high tier bleed, for example, and then I augment it and I don't get the one that I want, for some flasks, it doesn't give me the effect I'm looking for at all. So I don't know. It was a little annoying that I was just forced to take the lowest tier bleed. It still works. It's 8 seconds, whatever. But and I'm not a big fan of how what it takes now to roll the flasks, and also the naming system in Einhar is just as dumb as Einhar.
The naming system is ridiculous.
Just a mouse
you know what?
over. Come on.
Well, that's it. Yeah. Who cares about the name?
Simple.
But give me the information that's actually valuable to my character.
Mm-hmm.
It's ridiculous that we have to tab over that.
If that's the worst of our complaints, though,
awesome.
It's fine.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I
totally
see. I fall on both sides with flasks. I'm used to the old way where it was easy. Like GGG doesn't want the perfect item in the game, or if it is, it's so rare that everybody googles and goggles over it. Flasks are items. We're used to them, able to get them pretty perfect and rely on that as part of our experience. Whether they're changing that or not, I don't know. Like, I'm fine that there are some pretty deterministic crafts in the game that do help you, like a flask. But if flasks took on the same mentality as the rest of your items, I think I'd be okay with that too, especially if they are giving you the option to get the base value of that deterministic craft. I don't know where I fall with it. Like, I totally...
But it doesn't overwrite it, though. So if you, like, I know what you mean, and I do agree with you. I think it's a good sync to have to, like, build it to work for it. But if you rolled your alteration, a flask, for example, right? And let's say you roll your alteration in it, and then you go, you know what? I'm just not hitting it. I'm going to go use this in the Einhar. It won't overwrite the pre-existing suffix. You have to roll with an alteration until you just hit one prefix and no suffix, and then you can craft it on. Why not let it replace the suffix? I don't understand, because then you're just forcing me to roll until I get an unlucky roll of one single prefix versus a prefix and a suffix. I just find that odd to me that it doesn't overwrite the suffix that's already maybe on the item.
To me, and I know that they would kind of have to change a lot of their background math with how the dice roll in the background, but to me, one of the most tedious things that makes crafting the natural way, actually using your orbs and going through and trying things out and trying to get that better item like it dropped. The reason that I feel so many people don't do it is because you can roll the worst mod, the worst valued mod or tier for that mod on the highest item level. Like if I have an item level 86, I could roll 10 life. That's dumb. If I'm already trying to get between 30 mods, even if they're all so let's say I have an item level 86 and I'm rolling all between only tier 2 or tier 1 mods, that changes a lot. And I'm still having to get the right combo of mods that I want. So I know they would have to change stuff, but to me, the part that takes me out of crafting is how much I have to get through just for the chance to see a higher tier mod, not just a high tier mod of the mod I want. Like I'm having to
which you could then completely wreck too.
Right, and I'm going through 100 tier 10 mods. Low, 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 low. Oh, mana. Oh, no, this isn't a mana build. Low, 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 low. So, I don't know. It would be nice if having a high item level kind of cut out some of the lower levels, whether it's all of them or some of them. It would be nice to have not less mods to go through, but definitely culled the mods that would just be completely pointless.
I just think with flasks, you have so many of them. It takes so much to craft them up. It's really weird to me to only be allowed to craft the lowest tier of the suffix that you want onto an item. But whatever, like I said, if that's the worst of my complaints, besides Scourge being a little weird, this league has been so much fun.
Oh, totally. So before we take off, I know we've been just going back and forth with the Scourge stuff, but what are your overall thoughts, enjoyment, 10 out of 10 rating, 1 out of 10 rating? Where are you at? Scourge, including core, Scourge.
I want to say I'm probably around like an 7 or 8.
Oh.
So it's a little weird, and it's not anything against the league. I can't tell if it's just me or not, but I have found that I'm skipping stuff even in maps like Expedition. I'm like, I don't really want to stop to do this, and it's gotten a little bit better with regards to Scourge and how the loot works, but I always have to make sure I'm maintaining this movement forward. I also feel like I'm jumping in and out of Scourge too much, and I think I'm going to stop doing that. Apparently I don't know, I've heard people say that it's more efficient to go in, kill if it's right there, but if you're having to move too much, then you come out of Scourge. It's kind of taken me out of I feel like I'm pressing way too many buttons, and I'm playing a friggin' build that has literally no buttons. I purposely tried to build it so I was like, I got Corpse Walker boots, just run around and shield charge and randomly call of steel or whatever. But that is seeming to take me out a little bit of it, and I'm not sure why. But the league itself, I love it. And what's nice about that is it's all future versions of it too. Like the stuff that I'm really liking, the tree and just the atlas and stuff like that, that's all future versions of the game that aren't going to change. So I'm quite happy with that. I don't see Scourge going core though, which is weird, but I don't think it will. What's your overall take been so far? 1 week in.
I love it. Now, I'm a casual player. I don't care how successful or unsuccessful a league is. I always care about the core content, and whatever's temporary, let it be temporary. And if it's good enough to be core, great. To me, this is almost a 10 out of 10. Now, I'm not talking bugs, right? Like I know there's bugs, I know there's crashes. I'm not talking like that type of experience, but in terms of the design, how it plays, and all the core changes that came into it, the core changes have been almost untouched. Outside of whatever bugs they have to fix, there's been no massive dramatic changes that we've been used to the last 2 or 3 leagues where it's like, well, this feature just doesn't work, so we're sorry and we're going to change it or tweak it. Like all that core stuff has been solid. The Atlas changes have been solid. The Flash changes have been solid. It's just been a very good overall experience. And then to add stuff like masteries, that's amazing. And to have them working properly, awesome. So, I mean, once stuff like Elemental Overload and other big things like that start working, it'll be great. The thing I love about Scourge is that I don't have to ignore it. It doesn't take me away from anything. Like Harvest, that was a big no for me. That type of micromanagement was extremely annoying. having to level heist NPCs, super annoying for me, right? Going through, like, there was a lot, and nothing wrong with those leagues. They're just not my style. And so now I have a league where I can just hit V whenever I want. I'm in, I'm out. Sweet. I got a corrupted item. Can I use it? Nope. All right, next one. Let's go. And you're like, there's hope for a rolled item when I'm normally not valing anything. I am saving every val orb for mapping because I want that extra bonus, right, from the mapping bonus. So to me, this has been just something where the league mechanic doesn't get in the way of my normal gameplay. I can do it whenever I want, and there's no consequence to however long I take. I'm absolutely loving it. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, it's fun. I'm excited to play. I'm glad we're only a weekend because there's definitely lots more to come with filling out the atlas and doing Maven and all that kind of stuff. So
yeah.
It's good.
Scourge.
Sweet. All right, let's wrap this up. Episode 108, Forever Exiled, Path of Exile podcast. I'm Justin, AK Tags.
Tyler Record Days.
Patrons will catch you guys in After Dark. Everybody else, we'll see you in 109. If you're looking for more information, you can find it down below. We got a website, foreverexiled.com. We're on Twitter, foreverexiled82. We're on Discord. If you're not on Discord, you should be on Discord because that community is amazing. And if you're looking for Patreon and other ways to support the podcast, you can find it down below. Bye.
Whew. Everything is awesome. Remember that song? Everything is cool when you're part of a team. Remember that song? Everything is awesome. Remember that song?